Hello, hello, welcome everyone.
Welcome everybody.
To another MSI Insider live stream. We have a technical topic, but Ruud is not here, so unfortunately I have to do it with Eric today. Ruud is on a holiday, maybe he's watching, so if you are Ruud, enjoy your holiday. Of course he will not watch.
He
said he wanted to watch. I'm not sure if his family agrees with him watching.
Yeah, but that's true, that's true.
Okay, chat, say hi to Ruud, because he may be there somewhere.
Yeah, so we have a lot of topics, content to talk about today, so not sure how long this stream is going to take.
Until security kicks us out of the building.
Yeah, or until you need a beer.
I already do.
Yeah, Michiel, what was it with the giveaway? You said on YouTube, I will post a link.
I was fighting with the bot, so for everyone who wants to participate in the giveaway for that game, go to msi.com/2/insider. Does that work again? Good question.
I really don't know.
Our website was broken.
They were working on it.
Okay. On Twitch, the bot will
I will post a link in the chat.
Well, the bot will do it on Twitch once every 5 minutes.
And on YouTube.
On YouTube, I pinned the message, so it should be on top of your chat, so you should be able to access it there directly. That will lead you to Gleam. Within Gleam, you can perform several actions. The more actions you perform, the bigger chance you'll have to win. And also, if you're a returning visitor, make sure to claim your loyalty bonus to have a slight edge in the giveaway. And today, we will give away several Star Wars Outlaws game codes.
Yeah, but we are going to do it fast, because we need to start.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start here, right? We're going to start where we finished 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Let's make some space for that part.
Yeah, so we are going to talk about our lineup, and basically most of them we already showed you. This is our Z890 motherboard lineup. Yeah. 2 weeks ago we did a live stream where we talked about most of the models. We didn't have all the samples in, now we have. And well, not except one. And we talked about most of the features. So today we're not going to talk about the features, well, maybe some. We're going to benchmark them. So
finally, we can also talk about performance.
We can talk about performance, and there's a lot to say about performance and some tricky things.
Yeah, it is, of course. This is a completely new platform, and that's also what makes it very interesting. Because we had LGA 1700 for 3 generations, so that was 12th, 13th, and 14th generation. But now, basically, a whole platform means a lot of stuff. We start from scratch again.
Yeah, new architecture.
Intel as well. New architecture, a lot of
memory possibilities.
New memory possibilities, a lot of new stuff to discover in general. Yeah. How the CPUs behave as well, because we know from the previous architecture, like from 13th to 14th was basically a refresh of Retro Lake, and you know how the CPU would behave and how it would approximately perform.
So we have 2 test platforms. This is the old, what is it, 13900 we picked,
13900K.
13900K, and this is the new one, 285K.
Yeah, 285K.
Okay.
The reason why we don't have 4900K is very simple. We didn't have one in the office.
Oh, I thought you have one at home now.
No, I don't, unfortunately. At the time, we did a live stream with the i7, the 14700K, because that one got additional cores compared to the 13700K, whereas the 14900K only got a slight speed bump over the 13900K.
I see Alan saying no more hyperthreading. No, and you won't miss it. Oh, did I say too much?
We'll see later.
Yeah, we will see later. Okay, so this is a lineup. 2 weeks ago, we didn't have Godlike. And now we have Godlike somewhere. Yeah, it's heavy. Instead of a... how are we going to do this? This one.
There we go. Oh, we have some peeling to do. Let's start here.
I/O.
I/O, as you can see, a well-filled I/O. Oh, am I missing something?
Yeah.
I'm missing something. I already thought it looked weird. One moment, my hand is fighting with the sticky stuff. Don't think too deep about that sentence. Oh, so much peeling.
Maybe you should just do this next time before the stream.
No, it's always better on stream.
That my fingerprints are not on there.
For most people, it's the highlight of the stream.
Okay, bye-bye, you can go.
Yeah, we'll peel this and then we're off.
Yeah.
There we go. But now we at least make it a little bit more visible. There's a lot of peels on this one.
What if you use a detailed cam?
Yeah, but then I cannot hold it.
No, but I can. Where is it?
Ah, this should be doable. Where is it? It's still not booted up yet. I think we already have almost all the peels. There we go. There we go. There we go. And last one. And a small remaining part with that. Okay, there we go. As you can see, you get a tour through our studio because it's nice and shiny. Some nice lights. There we go. But a very big motherboard.
It's also very heavy.
It's also very heavy. Ace was already very heavy, but in this generation, actually, Ace is a regular ATX board, whereas in the previous generations, Ace was extended ATX. Godlike is still extended ATX, with all the bells and whistles that you know from Ace and more. But also because it's even bigger, it became even heavier. Hey, let's see if we can find... look, chat. There you guys are.
That's the chat, indeed.
Say hi to yourself there.
Yeah.
And also, if we turn it around, big backplate, of course, also adds some weight. So very extensive cooling on this motherboard. It has a complete fin stack heatsink.
Ah, I can show that, Mike.
Heat pipes. Oh,
Maybe
you got
this
an
is more
even
clear.
better view. This is much clearer.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So it's got cross heat pipes, the wavy fin design, aluminum cover, M.2 shield frozzer on all the M.2 slots on this board. As I showed you on the back, you'll find a huge backplate stretching all the way over the whole motherboard. And because it's all metal, it all adds to the weight. So in the end, it became a very heavy motherboard, but also very impressive, feels very sturdy. But yeah, I like the way this one looks. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, looks awesome. Yeah. And the problem now is, and I didn't destroy it, but normally we have a cable so we can show...
I still forgot some peels.
Oh,
See?
yeah. Normally we have a cable so we can show off the RGB LED.
Yeah, but our cable is broken.
Yeah, our cable is broken.
So we need to fix that one.
What if we put later just on the end of the stream maybe ATX cable? We will see. We will see.
Yeah, later on.
Okay, we go back to the maybe yeah.
Yeah, because this board comes with a special accessory, or well, actually multiple accessories.
Indeed. So this is what we call Easy Bridge, and basically it's a system fan and RGB hub, which you can place inside. Oh, sorry, Mike, digital cam. Yeah, and it has a lot of connectors, so you can connect 7 system fans.
Let me quickly unplug this on both sides so I can show it in a little bit more detail.
That's the power.
Yeah, I need to press it.
Yeah.
So
7 system fans, 2 ARGB fans for 5 volt, 1 ARGB for 12 volt, and 1 for water flow. So that's for the pump fan. And yeah, on the side, Mike, can you? Yeah.
There's a fan connector and the bridge connector, and that one is quite interesting. Let me move this to the side. Because you plug this into this big unit.
Can you maybe show that in the camera, where all the ports are on the side? With
on this one?
No, on the other one.
On this
that one, yeah.
Yeah.
So all the ports are angled, and you have one port soldered on the PCB, where you see the 24 pins, 8 pin, Type C USB.
All the way to the back.
Indeed, this is packed. And then you have the Easy Bridge on top of that.
Yeah.
And I say on top because
this part you can take off.
You can easily take off. It's with magnets, and that's the display we're going to talk later about.
So now it looks like a mirror, but there is a small display in there, 3.99 inch, if I'm correct, IPS panel, and this is where you will find a lot of the connectors. That's what it looks like from the bottom. So it has one big connector here, of course, to be able to make a connection to all these connectors, as well as the LCD panel on top. Hey, Chad. That's you again. So that's the Easy Bridge. Then there are some cables included with the Easy Control Hub. So this is the power cable, goes to 2 SATA power connectors, and of course the power connector for the Easy Control Hub. And then there's this connector, and that one connects the Easy Bridge to the Easy Control Hub. And the Easy Control Hub actually goes on the back of your motherboard tray. There's also a magnetic design, so you don't have to glue it or whatever. You just stick it on the back of your motherboard
Can
tray
we test
and
that?
you connect it. Yeah, if you have something metal, then you can test that.
My knee. Oh.
There you go. So yeah, sticks quite well, right?
Yeah.
So that way you can also, it helps with your cable management because you can direct all the cables of the fans and the RGB lighting to the back of your motherboard tray. So you don't have to route them to the front of your motherboard because that's usually what will be visible through a tempered glass panel. So it's a lot nicer to have it on the back of the motherboard tray. So that's how it works.
So besides that, it also comes with a Thunderbolt 5 card. We don't have one on hand. Yeah, Thunderbolt, all these motherboards at Z890 have Thunderbolt 4 ports. On the mainstream models they have one port, and the mainstream to high-end you can find 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. But the Godlike model comes also with a Thunderbolt 5 add-in card. So this is a PCI Express X4 card, of I should say Gen 4 X4 card. Supports power delivery and supports everything what Thunderbolt 5 is offering. So you can JZ chain, monitors, etc. And additionally, this one also comes with an extra add-in card. We call this the Expander Z Slider Gen 5. And we have that one here as well.
So this is basically a PCI Express Gen 5 X8 card, and the reason it's an X8 is because you can fit 2 M.2 Gen 5 times 4 SSDs in there, and instead of having
you can see that on the gold fingers.
On the gold fingers. Oh yeah, you mean here? Yeah.
Yeah. If you angle a little bit, yeah, you see only the half.
So you see it's half of it is filled, and that's
Yeah.
because it's 8 lanes, whereas the total would be 16 lanes, like a graphics card, or most graphics cards, I should say. And it offers space to 2 SSDs, and you don't have to screw it completely open because it's actually a sliding mechanism. So basically you pop this out, and then you can drag these out.
If your camera, I think that's more clear.
Yeah. Let me wake.
If that still works, where are we?
Should be.
Mobile?
Yeah, I have to reconnect
Should be this one?
Yeah, there we are.
Oh, it's
Nice and smooth. So there you see a big gap here because I just slid them out. And then you get these elements basically. And if you turn them around, here you can open them up. So let me stick my finger in. There we go. And this is where you will find basically the position where you'll put the SSD.
You have an SSD?
Yeah. So this is also the first time we're trying this out. Let me see how this works. Because I think you just position it here, and then you of course take the plastic thingies off. But you just place it in this basically. Then you close it up. There we go. And then you slide it back into this mechanism. Let me see that I do it the right. So basically this is what it now looks like on the end. So basically just the SSD sticks out. And then you should slide it in. Yeah.
This Mike. This side.
Oh.
So we can
Let me see if I put it in the right direction.
That doesn't
I think
matter.
it should be like this. And then you slide this in. Did I do that correctly? I think it should be the other way around then. Yeah, there we go. So push it in.
And lock it.
No, push it further in and then lock it. Even further, I think.
Did you
Am I
put the
doing something
SSD
wrong?
upside down?
No. SSD can only go in one way.
Yeah, normally we test everything. Oh, we don't have to test that.
This just arrived actually. This is a good question. Okay, we'll try.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe
If
I'm
you take
doing
the phone.
something wrong.
So first I'm going to open it up. Yeah, just
That's on the other way, otherwise you cannot open it. Because basically...
Well, the arrow is
your
here,
finger.
so it should fit in like that. Oh, I should not lock it. This is the same you had.
So maybe, so maybe the SSD is the wrong way around. That's possible.
Okay.
Technically.
No, it makes sense because the
It's what you would expect.
M dot of what is called M key.
Yeah.
M key is here.
Yeah.
So it makes
That's
sense.
why I put it in like this.
Yeah. Okay. So you say open it up like this. We're just going to try. Doesn't make sense like this. But what I'm going to do, I'm also going to put this empty one in, then at least I know, like this, right? No. Okay. Okay, this one goes like this. Now take it out. Okay, so it should be like this. No. Okay. We will do that at another time. We will find out in our own time how that works. That's for later. Because we have so much other things to show. Anyway, so, well, if you get the SSDs in, then it's thin. It's only one slot thick.
Yep. Single slot.
Yeah.
Let me grab my SSD out again because we'll
ball bearing fan for cooling, and you should be able to easily slide them out. Well, that worked. But sliding in, are you going to continue trying?
No, I'm taking the SSD because we need it later on.
Okay, good. I'm checking the chat. Erik, no. If it breaks, we can blame Mike. Yeah. No. Then dynamic dashboard 2. Mike, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so dynamic dashboard is basically all the functionality that you get through the LCD screen that we just showed on the motherboard. Let me just put this aside because then I can grab it again. So on this LCD screen, right there, you can display a lot of different things. You can put diagnostic information on there, so then you can think about CPU temperatures or memory frequencies, all those kind of things. You can also use it as a clock. You can even set a timer on it, I believe. You can put your own logo or like GIF files, videos, etc. on it. But what I think makes it most interesting is that you can also use it for either debugging or for status updates when you're, for example, updating your BIOS. So all of that can be shown on that little LCD screen. So it's actually very versatile. And basically you can just use it for whatever you prefer to use it for. That's dynamic dashboard 3.
Okay, so that's Godlike. Next one is Edge, and I'm not allowed to touch this one because we still need to record a video.
With that exact sample. So
yeah, I already noticed some color box lying around and I was trying to open it, but no. I was stopped.
That's also why it's still in a bag. This also came in this morning, just in time for this live stream.
Alan is asking, does it require MSI Center, the software? Yes, I believe so.
Yes, in order to control it, you definitely need MSI Center.
So this just arrived today?
Yes.
Can we peel it, or you want to do that on the video?
No, because then we get fat fingers on it. After the video, this one will be peeled. I know how that works. I will make our editor so angry when I now take this off.
Yeah, I understand.
So we already talked about this 2 weeks ago when we introduced most of our models, but we didn't have this one in the office yet, so we still quickly wanted to show it to you, especially because, well, you may be familiar with our HTI series, and then you know that they usually have silver heat sinks, but now it's also a nice matching, well, silver whitish kind of PCB. Yeah. So let us know what you think, because it definitely does look a bit different than our previous.
Yeah, for this video you need white gloves.
We should, yeah. I only have black ones.
I know.
For the unboxing videos.
Yeah, so this has a 16 phase of 90 amps SPS.
Yeah, so smart power stations.
Yeah, 8-layer PCB.
Mm-hmm. Here you can count the layers.
External,
if you have a good eye.
External clock gen.
Yeah.
It comes with Thunderbolt, Wi-Fi 7, 320 megahertz,
the
Wi-Fi 7.
lights are so bright on the white I/O. It's almost impossible to.
You want me the phone?
No, it's okay.
Okay. And a lot of heat sinks. So you have all the SSDs cooled.
Yeah. And those can of course be taken off like that.
So this is what we showed you last time. This comes with the easy M.2 clip, easy M.2 Frozen shield, easy antenna, easy everything. Yeah, except for the add-in card of Gen 5. That wasn't easy.
Yeah, but that was a different motherboard as well.
We will try it later. Okay, so that is Edge. When are you going to record? Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Okay. So in 2 to 3 weeks time it will be on YouTube?
Approximately, yeah.
Okay.
Depends a bit on the release schedule, but yeah. At least 2 weeks, I would say, probably around.
Yeah. Next one we're going to talk about is Z890i.
Quickly packing this before you touch it.
Edge.
Oh, my personal favorite.
Yeah. TI Wi-Fi. So this is a Mini-ITX, your personal favorite.
There we go. Tiny board. You all know I love tiny boards.
Where can I get a Godlike? So today, about like 20...
Skeet, what do you mean Godlike? We're talking about ITX now, and you start talking about Godlike.
Yeah.
Godlike is a cool motherboard.
So
but
the on-shelf date ended, actually the on-shelf date was 2 weeks ago, but now it's available for sales. So I think Godlike is still not available for sales. Maybe it's listed already, but...
that one would be a little
bit later
usually.
indeed. So probably not shipping yet, but most of the boards are already shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers and roll.
Mini-ITX also a bit late, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a bit late, I mean a few weeks behind.
Godlike and Mini-ITX will be launched slightly later than the other models. Yeah.
Okay, so Mike.
This is another Edge model. So now, like the ATX one, this one also comes with both silver heatsinks and a silver colored PCB. What is quite unique about this model is that it can actually hold up to 4 M.2 SSDs simultaneously. So I think our first board that could do 2 was like our Z490i Unify board. Then with 590 we added a third M.2 slot. We also had 3 M.2 slots on 690 and 790. And now with Z890i HDI Wi-Fi you have a total of 4 M.2 slots. So let me take this apart so you can have a proper look at it. There we go. Because actually, here you will see the first slot. The other one is underneath. So I will undo this. That's just 2 screws. Then you can take out this small separate PCB. Just pull it gently on both sides because it has dual connectors here. This is where you will find the second M.2 slot. So you basically screw it in there.
Is you shaking on me?
It's you.
Oh, no, it's you. You need alcohol.
I just like to blame you.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's a very heavy PCB. Just kidding, it's extremely light. On the back of the motherboard, you will find the third M.2 slot. And then you may be wondering, where's the fourth one?
Where's the fourth one?
Well, it's not here because that's a separate PCB right here. And basically it's almost an add-in card. And on the back of this, you will find the fourth M.2 slot. So you screw it in there and that's the connector. That's not all this PCB offers because on the board itself, you will get some connectivity, but not all of it because some is hidden on this PCB. So 2 SATA connectors you will find here. Here you see a Type C port, and it comes with this tiny cable, and this is the USB 3.0 header. So basically you just plug it on like that, and then you can connect the front header of your case. I'm gonna remove this again. Then additionally you have a front USB Type C header right there. So you get a lot of connectivity on this small PCB. On the board you'll find a separate slot for this. So you just open it up like that. Make sure it's aligned properly.
Don't put SODIMM in this.
No, it's indeed not exactly the same. Then you just push it down until it clicks and it's in position. So that's how it works. Shall I put this together again? Then you can see it in full glory.
With SSD?
Yeah, I can put the SSD in there. I will put it in the front slot. So this, just push it down to the 2 connectors. And then 2 screws to get it in place.
I can do this.
Oh, we can let you do another PC build with this board.
No,
Because you
thank
love
you.
building
No,
ITX
thank
systems.
you.
And there we go. Second screw.
Skeet's asking, do the SATA ports share lanes with the M.2? I don't think so, because you have quite a lot of lanes. Later we're going to talk about it on the Z890. But to be honest, I'm not sure, because I didn't
still
see
need
the
to
manual.
check the, I also still need to check the exact switching schedule to see how that works. So this is just for the main SSD. Press it down, install it like that. And then you have the easy M.2 Shield Frozzer. Just put it on, press it down, and it's installed. So now you can see the SSD. Oh, there you go, underneath. Here you'll find some more headers on this PCB as well. So here you have the Easy Connect Plus that you may know of from 2 weeks ago. We already explained that one. It's basically a combined connector with PWM, addressable RGB, and USB. So you can connect, for example, all-in-one liquid coolers with a screen all to one connector on your motherboard. Of course, ARGB connector here, the regular USB 2.0, and a PWM
So
fan
memory
head.
still fits?
Yeah, memory still fits. Let me grab the modules. So this is a memory with relatively thick heat sinks, and even that still fits easily next to the PCB.
Sorry, I'm blocking you.
Yeah, you're blocking a little. I find something around it. There we go.
And is there already SSD inside?
No, because that one is currently underneath this, but
okay.
we can put it in if you want to
Why not?
have a look.
Oh.
So then I will quickly undo this again. Quickly grab it. There we go. I will steal the screw from the back. Because I need a screw for the SSD to put it on this PCB. There we go. So here just a regular slot, the old school way, with a screw.
So this doesn't have easy M.2 something something?
No.
Okay, something we can improve. Maybe.
Yeah, but that's
this
trickier.
engineering sample maybe.
No, but the problem is if you would do
it will be
that's
too big.
yeah, because
Yeah,
it's
I
thicker,
understand.
so then
Yeah.
it would conflict with your memory modules.
Would or could?
Depends on the memory modules you
Yeah,
use, so
yeah.
could.
Yeah.
If you use very thin ones without heat spreaders, then
Because again,
shouldn't be
this is
an
not a retail sample.
No, this is an engineering sample.
Yeah.
Now
Both.
basically you can just put it back in. So the slot has to be open on one side, then push it down until you hear a click. There you go.
And how is the space? Oh. Yeah.
So also keep in mind that you can not use this in combination with an SSD that really requires a thick heatsink. So if you have one of the faster, well, it is a Gen 4 slot, so you can use also a Gen 5 SD if you want, because it's backwards compatible, but it won't give you any additional speed. So that slot I would recommend to use with a more modest, not extremely power-consuming SSD. And of course, if you have a higher performing SSD, use it in combination with the slot that offers a heatsink. So there, of course, you can use a very quick high-end SSD. So yeah, that's the Mini-ITX. We actually haven't talked about the PCB of this one yet, because this is actually a 14-layer one. So the VRM of this one, 110 amp power stages, is a direct power design, and a 14-layer PCB is really insane.
Yeah, that's really insane.
Yeah, it is really insane. Also, if you want to run this with a high-end processor and still want to overclock it, then you may need some additional cooling, because it can get quite cramped in small cases. So there is an additional fan hidden in here. That's also why you have some ventilation holes here in the I/O. So that will help to cool the VRM when necessary. So this is the MPG Z890.
I/O maybe?
Yeah. There we go.
Lots of ports. 2 Thunderbolts,
Yeah.
Type-C.
For ITX, yes. Of course, on ATX you will find even more.
Yeah.
You have more space there. But
No,
you do
the space is the same. On the I/O.
Yeah, on the I/O, but you still need PCB space
true.
around it.
Correct.
Because actually, this is where you will also find a separate PCB. So actually, it consists out of 4 PCBs. So you have the main PCB, you have a PCB for the USB ports here, then you have a PCB for the connectors and M.2, and then the additional one on the side with the SATA connectors, the front USB, and an additional M.2. So this is quite complex board in a certain sense, but I think it's also impressive.
Cramped with a lot of features.
What engineering can do, and how you can fit so many features onto a tiny motherboard. Yeah. So Eric, Mini-ITX build stream when? I see possibilities.
Yeah. Alan's asking why the MSI will only go with 2 audio on the back. This is a trend. I see this from all vendors. 2 audio or 3 audio. And
actually, you do get 3. You have 2 analog ones, and additionally, you have an optical one for
SPDIF.
SPDIF.
Yeah. Indeed.
So if you, for example, use surround set, most of them nowadays actually work through HDMI. So if you have an amplifier, you connect them through HDMI. So basically for that you don't actually use the onboard audio anymore. If you have an older device, it probably still has Toslink, so the optical SPDIF one. That you still find on this motherboard. And then you have 2 3.5mm analog plugs.
In, out.
In and out. So basically headset and microphone.
Let's talk, who's using SPDIF?
I'm also using SPDIF.
Old creative audio set. Really old, but SPDIF.
I use it for my media PC. I have an old amplifier, old Sony one, and that one. Well, it actually does support HDMI, but it's so old, it's like HDMI 1.3 or whatever.
0.9.
And I use an Ultra HD television, so it doesn't really match. So
let's touch a little bit on the CPU. We talked already 2 weeks ago about it. A lot of innovation in CPU, also a new architecture, and that makes things also very difficult. So Intel launched 5 different CPUs. 1 Ultra 9, 2 Ultra 7s, 1 with graphics, 1 without graphics, and 2 Ultra 5s, 1 with graphics and 1 without graphics.
In terms of segmentation, this is like you would have the Core i5, now becomes Core Ultra 5, Core i7 becomes Core Ultra 7, 9 becomes 9. Difference here is that I now don't see an F-SKU for the Ultra 9, which was the case for...
But it still can launch
Core
later on.
Yeah, but at least at this point, usually Intel launched them simultaneously.
So
I'm not sure if it comes, but at least not at the moment.
So this is all known. We also talked about a chipset. So it adds not only chipset, of course, a lot of these IOs is included in the CPU. Basically, what the platform is doing here, you have an overview of the 700 series compared to the 800 series, and in this matter, we look at Z790 and Z890. You see that last generation, the 700 series had up to 8 lanes PCI Express 3.0. Those are now removed, but instead you get 4 extra PCI Express 4 lanes back, and you get 4 extra PCI Express Gen 5 lanes back. I marked them in yellows with the arrows. One big benefit, one big thing they changed is that you can now split the PCI Express lanes for your GPU, so for your VGA card, in a different way. Because in the past it was very difficult to split the PCI Express 16 Gen 5 into 2 by 8, and that 8 again in smaller slots. So it was very difficult to use M.2 Gen 5 as SSD slot,
and now you have
without losing lanes, without throwing them away.
And now you have an additional 4 lanes, so you can still run your graphics card in PCI Express Gen 5, if there were any graphics cards that could support it. And you still retain 4 lanes for a Gen 5 M.2 SSD without having to move any lanes away from your graphics card.
So Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4 is now also new on this platform and integrated in the chipset. So you can do up to 2 ports, and maybe, I'm not sure, I think, that's the next slide. This is what, I'm not sure how it's called, it's HSIO, we always call it Flex IO, indeed. And this is basically the menu what Intel offers to motherboard vendors. So you have a lot of lanes, and some of them you can use them either as PCI Express or USB. Some are dedicated to LAN, or you can use them as PCI Express. And with this you can put together your mainboard. So on entry level, of course, there will not be a lot of M.2 devices because each extra connector costs money.
It's a bit like a sushi restaurant, and you have like 20 different dishes, but you
Yeah.
still have to pick
Yeah,
which
indeed,
ones.
indeed. So on the left, I put like a Pro mainboard from MSI. On the right, you have a more high-end mainboard. You see a different configuration in lanes. And this also is important because sometimes you see if you use a certain USB port, some other PCI Express slot will stop working, you know. And that all has to do with this. Not on MSI mainboards this generation, but it's always a choice. How are we going to configure this? And yeah, this is not easy.
And it also just differs from motherboard to motherboard.
Oh, absolutely,
So
yes.
If you have a more affordable motherboard, then for example the switching will be more simplistic. You will have fewer connectors. So for example on the Dash P model of the Z890 Pro motherboard, you will find a single Thunderbolt 4 connector, even though it can technically do 2, but of course that will make a motherboard more expensive. Then you have the Dash A, which is positioned slightly higher in the Pro series. There we do add the second Thunderbolt 4 port, for example.
And more ports means more connectors, more power, more PCI. You know, it can translate in a lot of things. All extra cost. The same with the CPU. So here we focus on the PCI Express lanes of the CPU. You can have different configurations. So example 1 is, for example, what we use in our Z890 Pro mainboard, Z890-P Wi-Fi. And you see on the website highlighted, this one has 3 PCI Express 16 slots. And then in yellow highlights you see one of them is PCI Express Gen 5 and comes from the CPU. So then on the right side, example 3, you see the CPU can split up lanes. So then the first PCI Express X16 slot, which normally runs as X16, can split into X8. And then the second PCI Express slot can also be Gen 5 and will become X8 as well. In this case, it's split up by 4 and by 4 and by 4. Because this is, for example, something what we did on our Godlike mainboard, where we have where we use this for M.2 storage. So you can use more different configurations.
Yep.
So then let's talk a little bit about DDR5 memory. Last time we already talked about CUDIMM. So we have some here.
This is a CUDIMM module.
Yeah.
We tried to find a UDIMM without heat spreaders, but we couldn't find any. Of course, it is possible to take them off, but if you're unlucky, then you will take one of those flash chips with them.
If Erik is doing it, always
then
unlucky.
Definitely. They have a naked PCB left.
Yeah.
But basically, this is the main difference between a UDIMM and a CUDIMM, and that's the clock driver. This is already something that was introduced when DDR5 was introduced, so this is the PMIC. So this basically takes care of the power delivery to the memory module. So in the past that was also on the motherboard. That already moved to the PCB of the memory module with the introduction of DDR5. And now with CUDIMM, you will also find the clock driver on the same PCB. Of course, having this on the same PCB eventually should help with reaching higher frequencies, basically because you have a better signal quality. If you have to go through the slot, you always lose a little bit of signal quality. So if you have chips and the rest of the memory, so the flash chips, on separate PCBs, which was the case before DDR5, then you always have some signal quality loss when going from the motherboard to the DDR5 module.
So, question in the chat, can regular DDR4 work in the same slot? No.
DDR4? No.
This is DDR5. And
yeah.
Can regular DDR5 work? Yes. This is pin-to-pin compatible with DDR5. The only difference is the small clock driver, the chip on the bottom of the PCB.
Yeah. And the motherboards are still equipped with a clock driver because you can also still use regular DDR5 UDIMM modules on the motherboard. They don't have this on the PCB, so then they will just use it on the motherboard.
Question, what is it? Quarky Cube. Does CUDIMM work on older X670 boards? Well, we already showed it works on AMD. but probably, and I didn't look into details, but probably it's just using the clock driver from the motherboard, so it doesn't benefit you.
So basically it bypasses the one I'm pointing to now, and it still uses the regular one.
And this is standard for high clocked DDR5 memory. So you will see this, I don't know from which speeds, but 6,400 and up, I believe. Something like that, you will see this.
Yeah.
So we will quickly do a lucky draw. Actually, I already did it. First winner is Daring B. Congratulations. Sounds familiar.
Daring B.
Yeah. Also loyalty bonus. Anyway, thank you for watching.
Congrats.
Yeah. You will get a copy of Star Wars Outlaws. What else? So it's pinned on YouTube. You can see the Gleam link in
Twitch chat once every 5 minutes.
Go there and you will find it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's for later. So let's talk a little bit more about memory, because 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about CUDIMM, we said, well, you know, there are some Taiwan brands and then China brands which announced it, but nowadays we also see ADATA, well, I think that's from Taiwan or China. We see Kingston, Crucial, G-Skill, more and more tier A brands also announce CUDIMMs. We don't know anything about pricing yet, availability.
I believe the ones I was just holding, of course, these ones don't have a heat spreader, but they are the Kingston Fury Renegade DDR5 8200 CL41.
So on the right side, well, you know, this is all what I got from the internet, so public information. So I don't have everything complete, but you see the Kingstons are 8200 CL40. Interesting, 2x24 gig kit, so 48 gig total. The Crucials are 6400 with timings of sub timings of 52, 16 or 32 gig. ADATA is 6400. G-Skill, the Z5 CK DDR5 8200 CL40 kit, and 48 gig as well, so 2x24 gig. But yeah, it's really early stage, it's new, so you know, you will see a lot of improvements, like with normally DDR5 when that hit the market the first time. What is it, 5200 or 48?
Yeah, like the official JEDEC specification is 4800, but the first modules we had in the office that came bundled with our Z690 Godlike back then were DDR5 5200 CL40. So.
Sorry, Song, I think you're from Vietnam. How can I sign up for the giveaway? In YouTube,
follow the pinned message on top of the chat. There is a link in there. If you click it, it will lead you to Gleam.
And we will give away more Star Wars Outlaws codes later on.
May the force be with you.
So the architecture, the memory architecture is again a little bit different, because I think last time it changed there because we have two memory controllers. With 12 Gen had only one memory controller, right? I think 12 Gen had one memory controller, then it changed to two memory controllers, each for one channel, what you see on the left side.
No, I think that was introduced with 12.
But it was already with 12 Gen?
Yeah, I think Elder Lake introduced that system.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right, it's Elder Lake, yeah.
That was 12, and then Raptor Lake was 13.
I thought Elder Lake was 13,
No.
Okay, so on the right side you see, and oh, by the way, you see a lot of code lakes, ARL, Arrow Lake. So this is from our engineers, from our overclocking team. So you see a lot of those kind of names.
Elder Lake.
Yeah, ADL Alder Lake, indeed, yeah.
So that's 12 Gen.
Yeah, so on the right side you see Arrow Lake, what we're talking about today. So Core Ultra 200S. So
by the way, 12th generation, it sounds very old now, but it functions in the same way as the 13th and the 14th generation.
On the left side.
Yeah, because in terms of architecture, Raptor Lake builds upon Elder Lake.
Yeah. So on the left side, Alder Lake is basically it's 2x64-bit. On the right side is 4x32-bit. So bandwidth is the same. It's not. It cannot transfer data. Well, that's wrong. It cannot address data faster because it only has 4x 32 bits. However, it can take a sub of a DIMM. So memory controller 0 can talk to channel 1 of channel channel 1 of channel B and channel 0 of channel A. And I'm not 100% sure, but when we did a live stream about
the CAM2.
CAM2 memory.
So much new memory. So this is CUDIMM, that's the CAM2.
Yeah. CAM2, that live stream, we also talked about power saving, and that's for servers, of course. And I believe, not 100% sure, I believe that this technique is also for being able to switch off half a DIMM if you don't need all the memory or something, and only
if you're curious, this is the Chem 2 one. So basically what you see here, if I open it up, there we go, is that there is only a single module there. So basically you need to get your dual channel on that single module as well.
Yeah, but that's Chem 2.
But this is a completely different story. Chem 2 is not the same as the CUDIMM that
did a live stream about that as well. If you're interested,
then you can watch it back.
The memory is also differently calculated, the speed of the memory, because in the 14th gen, so Alder Lake, it was not Alder Lake. What is it? Raptor Lake?
Raptor Lake Refresh is
Raptor
14th.
Lake Refresh,
13th is Raptor Lake. 12th is Alder Lake.
Yeah. Then we're talking, for example, about a CPU, a base clock times the clock of the ratio times 40, for example, the memory reference clock and the gear ratio. Everything was running in gear 2. Now we talk about in the 200 series, the Ultra 200 series, or Arrow Lake. It's a different calculation. So it's, for example, 100 times 120 times 33 times 2. And this means that you have a gear 2 and a gear 4. So that's something new. And with that, you get this kind of table. So this is, on the left side you see, I'm going to highlight this. You see Intel is standard supporting 5600. So that's the Intel specification for DDR5 memory. However, that's for UDIMM. Intel offers also CUDIMM, and with CUDIMM you can actually get to up to 6400.
On 2DIMM.
On 2DIMM, yeah. MSI, it's the same, on 2DIMM.
Yeah.
Then we're going to talk about 4DIMM, which here on the right side. So Intel is offering 5600, basically it's the same. However, for, what is this, Mike? Single...
Which one?
The SS? Single-sided?
Single-sided,
yeah.
2 DIMM per channel.
Yeah, 2 DIMM per channel. That's only 4400. So we talked about it in the past as well. You get a huge performance impact. Yeah. Which is the same for CUDIMM. However, in our BIOS we can go in higher speeds.
So you still get that 6400 even if you use a 4DIMM board.
Yeah.
Of course,
this is what our overclocking team and MTC team are always fine-tuning.
This is still when using 2 modules though. So it is still 1 DPC, so 1 DIMM per channel. In case you do 2 DIMM per channel, because you have 2 memory channels, but 4 DIMMs in this case. So if you fill them all up, you have 2 DIMMs per channel, then you would be limited to, officially, to 4800.
And this is the easy story.
Yeah. Before we go into this, let me quickly answer a question in chat. Action Brother is asking, what will be the future, Chem 2 or CUDIMM, or maybe a combo? I think it's
maybe something else.
Or maybe something else. I think it's an interesting question. Well, technically CUDIMM is much closer to UDIMM as we know it. It just moved the clock generator to the memory module.
Which is an easy upgrade, and it doesn't change anything to interfacing.
No, so the slot is still the same. It's just basically moving a chip.
Yeah. No, adding an extra chip.
Yeah. Because it's still in the motherboard if you use it with a regular unit.
Yeah.
Chem 2 is a completely different type of module. So first of all, the whole mechanism is very different, and it's almost like socketed as we know it from a CPU. So that also means that the signal quality should, in theory, be better on Chem 2. So for extreme memory speeds in the future, at a certain point, we will be limited by what the DIMM slot, as we know it today, will be able to do. Then Chem 2 could be a solution in the future because it gives you a better signal quality than the current DIMM slots. Chem 2 also works basically with a single module. So
it has a lot of benefits.
Yeah, but also more difficulties because you place it horizontally instead of vertically. That also means that it takes more space on your PCB.
But on the other side, you can cool it better.
Yeah, so there are pluses and minuses. But like if you look at from a signal quality perspective, Chem 2 would be superior.
Yes.
But also is more of a future thing because CUDIMM is basically very easy to switch to, as it uses the same DIMM slots.
Uncle Elias and Twitch, will MSI provide a helpful list with brand modules which we can simply look and buy one, and you know that it works? Well, helpful, I don't know, but yes, we have our QVL lists. Yeah. And those indeed list all the memory. So our memory testing team, they are always gathering from all those vendors the memory sticks. And even, I'm sure, you know, if you have a certain, you're considering a certain module, you can even send them the code and they will try to get it from the vendor and they will test it.
Do keep in mind though that we get certain numbers there. So we test on a specific motherboard for which we make a QVL, but we use a CPU on it, and each CPU is different. That also means the quality of the CPU is different. Yeah. Also the quality of the IMC, so that's the internal memory controller, can differ. Yeah. So even though with, later on we will have some more
tiny variations.
Yeah, tiny variations. But what you get with CPU A on a certain motherboard can be slightly different than what you will see with CPU B on the exact same motherboard.
And the memory can also differ.
The memory can also differ.
So there are two factors, the memory and the IMC.
Yeah. So yes, we have a list called the QVL where we tested memory modules with our CPU, but keep in mind that there are so many variables that mileage may vary depending on what you use exactly.
Action Brother, thanks. I'm going to script your question. That's for maybe CES. CES, beginning next year.
Perhaps
we will talk about that. Performance is a big issue, because if we look at 14 gen DDR5 versus this Arrow Lake DDR5, you get a huge latency hit. And Mike, I think we can show that live, right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. Because you are running, well, you're not running a 14 gen, but a 13 gen, but still Raptor Lake.
Is this what I'm looking for?
Yeah, now
we need to position
I'm on the right side, you're on the left.
I'm on the left.
And then we need ADA.
Okay, yeah.
So ADA 64 has a built-in memory benchmark, and that one will show you read speeds, write speeds, copy speeds, but most importantly, what we want to check now is latency. Because of the new architecture, this is quite a... Oh, you already started.
I'm already started, because maybe I'm slower, so I need to finish before you.
No, because actually I don't expect you to be slower. That has to do with the build-up of this new processor. So I think later on you have some more details about it, and we'll explain this in a little bit more detail. But you will find a very different latency between Raptor Lake and Raptor Lake Refresh, so 13th and 14th gen, compared to Arrow Lake, the new CPUs, the 200S series.
Yes. And we found out something worse. Today you will see a lot of benchmarks from different media, and probably
a lot of different results as well.
It will be confusing, because there are a lot of small details which are important, especially testing Windows 11.
And also because the architecture is completely new, all the media are also figuring stuff out again. Yeah. And people will do that in different ways, and people will get different results because of it. Yeah. We will also show you...
Same with AMD, yeah? They had the issue with
for sure.
What was it, 24H2? Yeah, the new Windows update which was coming.
Actually, we have a similar thing with this generation of Intel, so later on we will also talk a little bit about that, because also this latency is actually highly impacted by your exact software configuration. So yeah, a lot of variables. Basically, this you can...
You finished earlier.
Basically, it says my CPU is too new for this version, but it's fine for this.
Okay, so it's not that you didn't pay a license?
No, this is actually the paid license.
So on the old platform, I have 66 nanoseconds. We're not going to talk about performance of memory. We're now only focusing on latency.
Yeah, I have 88.7 nanoseconds.
88. Yeah. Wow, so that's indeed like what we see in this slide. Mike also, one more moment, let's go back. Mike also put the performance at 6,400, 32, 32, 39,
yeah,
right?
So I put them identical to each other, so they're both running at the same frequency and the same timing. So you don't, because of course that matters a lot. What kind of frequency and timings you use has direct impact on your latency. So to get a fair result. You have to make those equal. That's also what you see on this slide. They both run, in that case, at 7,200 megatransfers per second.
Raptor Lake,
34.
RPL, and Arrow Lake. What we thought the new platform.
Yeah. Same for us. Our test systems also use an identical memory setting, basically.
Yeah. So from this point, memory performance, latency, let's talk about latency, is not something to become happy about. And this is what Mike already highlighted because of the new architecture. We expect, I mean, we didn't cut one out open, not yet, but the old CPU was one base style. Now it's a package of base styles. So you have one for the I/O, one for the CPU on the top right, one for the SoC, one for the onboard graphics, etc. And between all of those, there needs to be communication. So that's a direct of a die-to-die communication. It's here highlighted. CPU die to die. So basically internally they're talking with each other, and we believe that this is adding some latency to the memory performance. Let's talk a little bit about gears. This is what Intel is doing in order to get higher memory frequencies. So basically in yellow on the left side you see gear 2, and gear 2 you have here the clock ratio, and with the SoC clock you get up to a certain memory speed. This is how it works also with DDR5 on Alder Lake. So nothing new.
I actually like the word gear here because it kind of functions as like a manual gearbox in a car.
Yeah.
So you use a lower gear, you cannot get the top speeds that you can achieve in a higher gear, but you do have more direct power in terms of torque available. It kind of works the same for memory.
So what is happening at one moment, you want to have higher clock speed, so we're talking above 8,600, and from that moment Intel is switching to gear 4. And basically gear 4, it takes 1/4 of the memory clock frequency.
Yeah.
So
for gear 2, that's half.
Yeah, so basically you get higher clock speeds, but it doesn't mean that your performance will benefit. So it's nice to have like, oh, you see this also with vendors, memory vendors, they're claiming 1,000 something memory clock speed. Well, that's gear 4, which means the performance is not the same as gear 2. And we can, I believe that's the next slide, also show you that. This is 8,400 in gear 4 and in gear 2. Blue is gear 2 and orange is gear 4. So you see that the performance of gear 4 is lower for the same clock speeds. And this also means if you go higher, it also adds a lot of latency, by the way. If you go to higher clock speeds, which are in gear 4, and I go back one slide to the stable. So if you talk about everything above 8,600, it doesn't mean it has to be quicker. So what did we do, because that's Intel spec, Raptor Lake S gear 2 mode, we improved on this. So our R&D team, we already told you, they're testing a lot of memories, validating them, and they managed to get memory up to basically up to 9,000. 9,000. So DDR5 9,000. Yeah. And then this can still work in gear 2. And now we're talking about XMP memory. Yeah. So in case you go one step higher to 9,066, you are going to switch to gear 4, which means worse performance. Higher clock speed, worse performance. Manually, you can still go in at this moment, because we're still validating and testing and improving.
Fine-tuning as well through the BIOS.
If you have a good CPU, Mike already talked about it, with a good IMC, internal memory controller, you can, in MSI, we already have some, you can go up to DDR5 9200 in gear 2. But you need to be lucky.
Yeah.
And you can use memory triad for that. On the right side you see a screenshot of that in the BIOS, and there you can select, manually tune, and select the bottom one, which is 9200 gear 2. So that's how you can achieve that. And
so this is what can work, but as mentioned before, this depends very much on, well, specifically the quality of the internal memory controller, so the IMC of that specific CPU. So even though the rest can be completely identical, it is possible that with CPU A you can easily reach 9,000 megatransfers per second in Gear 2, whereas with CPU B, which can be the same model, so still a Core Ultra 9, for example, and it may be impossible with that one. So very dependent on the CPU quality as well, but the BIOS improvements definitely make a difference, because we also tested this with the exact same CPU, and after the BIOS improvements, it could go quite a bit further in Gear 2.
And again, this is still the beginning. Memory will improve, maybe CPUs will improve, I don't know about that. And you know, with a lot of testing, we can improve all of this. 2 questions in the chat. Well, probably a lot more, but 2 I'm going to pick. What is it? Quarky Cube, not boy. Will MSI do more air coolers, towers? Well, you know, maybe. Who knows? Not currently on our roadmap. Pandorian Grey, long question, Mike.
Pandorian Grey is asking something about
RTX
the
50. We don't know
series
about
cards.
that.
Never heard about that.
No, we don't know about it. I've never heard about it.
Never heard about it. Said to be true PCIe 5.0, and I've heard that on Z790 the PCIe 5.0 slot is shared with the first NVMe slot. It works with a Gen 4 times 16 because it has enough lanes to share. If we want PCI Express 5.0 to be used fully for the graphics card, will we have to sacrifice that NVMe slot? And if not, will it split up to run that new graphics card at PCI Express 4.0?
I think you don't have to worry about that, because they, of course, run also on PCI Express.
Can you maybe go back to your slide where you compare 700
Yeah. One moment. I'm doing a lucky draw.
Okay.
What do you want? Go first back to the slide or do a lucky draw?
First back to the slide. I don't think chat will agree with me. Maybe Pandora.
I'm going to do a lucky
But basically...
next winner, JP, with a loyalty bonus. Thank you. And you can still win, what is it? Star Wars Outlaws. I forgot about that game. I didn't finish level 1, so I'm trying to...
You failed?
Yeah.
You still didn't finish it?
No. I even didn't try yet. I'm
but
all into the
congratulations.
finals. Yeah, if you want to participate on YouTube, we have a pin post, and on Twitch you can click on the Gleam link. So,
and
Mike,
now we want that slide.
yeah, now you want that slide. So, what slide are you talking about?
If you go back.
You talk about PCI Express lanes. This.
Further.
This.
Yeah, this. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, pull this up.
Yeah.
Here you see the difference between 700 and 800 series, and there you also see that the PCI Express 5.0 lanes on 700 series are, well, they are from the CPU, so not from the chipset, so technically they don't come from there. But 5.0 is limited to 16 lanes. So as soon as you want to run a GPU with 16 PCIe 5 lanes in full 16 lane mode, you won't have any PCI Express 5.0 lanes left for an SSD. Two options.
That's point 1.
Yeah, but you basically have 2 choices in that situation. You either
buy RTX 40
or stick to 16 lanes for your GPU and run your SSD in Gen 4 mode, or you take away 8 lanes, so not 4, but 8 lanes from your GPU, so that one will then run in case there would be a future GPU that can support PCI Express Gen 5, would then run in PCI Express Gen 5 with 8 lanes, and then you have lanes available for a Gen 5 SSD. But yeah, because of the architecture, you will take 8 lanes away even when you're running a single Gen 5 SSD. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, but that's a technical story. I think in reality doesn't matter, because PCI Express Gen 5 on GPU is not going to add any performance, like 1 to 3% indeed.
At this point, no, but you don't know what happens in terms of also game architecture and how they will utilize it in the future. Yeah. So that's impossible to say, but at the moment, I don't expect a performance hit. No. Because still, PCI Express Gen 5 with 8 lanes is identical in terms of bandwidth to PCI Express Gen 4 with 16 lanes. And we can already see, like a 4090 that I have here in front of me, you barely see any performance difference between PCI Express 4.0 times 16 compared to times 8, let alone 5.0.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. So let's go back to the memory story. So we have an improved memory design, which means you can run more memory in Gear 2, giving you better performance. Let's say more high-frequency memory in Gear 2.
You can basically, reach higher frequencies while maintaining gear too.
While maintaining performance. That's gear too.
Yeah.
Indeed. But you still have this latency. And here, you see that by 9000, you have the latency wall. So how to improve on that? We have memory extension mode in our BIOS. And with that, basically, you see the benchmarks at the bottom. Let me see. Here at the bottom, the bottom result is the default memory clock speeds from Intel, or the memory, what is it? Memory RC, memory code something? MRC, I think it's memory code something. Anyway.
Yeah, it could be.
Then we have an improved memory code, so you get same memory, 8600, you get way better performance. And then you can enable extension mode, and you get performance triple above 120 megabit, I think this is.
And what extension mode basically does is it fine-tunes timings, so you get better performance in certain applications, or in this times in terms of latency, but also in certain games can also benefit a lot from this. For AMD we have a similar thing.
And now if I go back to the system of Mike, so here you see the latency is 88.
That's what you see there.
And that is, for example, if you look at the bottom, Intel memory reference code, that's depending of course what kind of memory, that's above 80. With improvements, you go in the 70 range, and then with extension mode, which we didn't enable, you go up to the 60 mode. And when testing this performance, we found something which has a big performance impact. Mike, maybe we can show that?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm going to select the system of Mike.
This system is running
Windows 11.
Windows 11 24H2. Within that, you have certain.
Mat B1, is this a new socket? Yes.
Yes, this is LGA 1851.
Yeah, more pins.
Yeah, but also physically different, so
more
not
RMA.
Interchangeable with. I hope not.
Don't put your finger in it.
Maybe we can also open your system up, because this is actually a difference what you will see between the previous architecture that we know from Raptor Lake, that Eric is currently running on his system, and on Arrow Lake that I'm running on my system, so the new architecture. Currently, both are running in high performance. Do you still have your scores open?
I can make a screenshot.
No, but from the previous test you ran.
Yes.
There we go. So now you see that Eric is at 66.6 nanoseconds and I am at 88.7 nanoseconds. If we change this power plan, so balanced is the recommended setting by Microsoft. This is also the default setting. Yeah. This is a very important thing, and this is different in.
What is the problem with my English? I say default and you say default.
The default setting.
Default.
Yeah.
Do I have English problem?
And the native speakers will confirm now who has the problem. But basically now we force it into balance mode, and so that's the, let's call it standard setting by Microsoft. Yeah. We're now run the benchmarks again and see what happens.
So you have okay.
You have to double click it.
Funny story, which Mike told me 10 minutes ago, which Mike heard last Friday, and which Ruud knows also for only a few weeks. If you only want to do the memory test here,
so not all the cache ones,
which takes a long time, you have to double click on memory.
They cannot see it now. You have to drag your
sorry.
further in.
This will impact the score. You can hide. Yeah, well, we will show you later.
Yeah, later on we'll show.
Yeah.
But you can just double click it instead of the start benchmark one, because then it will test everything.
Now you see they're both fine in English.
LFP Gaming says I always put it to high performance. Well, in the past it didn't really matter. What you will now see. So probably for your system it won't matter.
But now
towards the future,
it starts to matter.
Yeah, and it still remains to be seen for how long this will be. Maybe this is a patch through Windows and it will be solved again. But at the moment, when you get an Arrow Lake system,
I hope I win.
To high performance. Well, you already won in the previous one in terms of latency.
No, no, that's you.
You can already see my writing score go up quite a bit as well.
Oh.
Latency test.
Yeah. Only takes a few nanoseconds.
Yeah, I know this is not optimized for this. I was at 88.7 nanoseconds. Now I'm at 121.8 nanoseconds.
And I was at 66, I believe. I forgot.
Yeah.
And I'm now at 65.9.
Yeah, but basically the same. You're within margin of error. Yeah. I'm way beyond margin of error. Basically, my latency increased a lot by just switching from the high performance mode in the Windows power settings to the balanced one. And keep this in mind, because when you build a fresh PC built on an Arrow Lake CPU, so the Intel Core Ultra 200S series, you install Windows and you don't change anything, it will be imbalanced. So you will get a very high latency of your memory. So in this case, with this configuration, over 121 nanoseconds. This will hurt your performance in certain synthetic benchmarks, but also in gaming, because latency does matter quite a bit for gaming as well.
Yeah.
So we really urge you, if you go with this new platform, at least at this point, this may be different in a couple of weeks after Microsoft did a patch or anything, but at this point, select the high performance mode. Don't stick to the balanced one.
Yeah, and you will also see that later it impacts benchmarks.
Yeah, Ruud did a lot of testing for us before he went on a holiday, so he also did benchmarks with this, and he compared it between the different modes, but also the different architectures, and there you will see how it impacts performance as well in certain specific situations.
Okay, so that's about memory. Let's talk a little bit about...
I'm quickly going back to high performance, because
me too.
Yeah, for you it doesn't matter. For me it does.
But I want to win.
Well, you actually had a better score with balance, right? Slightly,
okay,
but
so let's talk a little bit about the integrated GPU. We already talked 2 weeks ago about this, but now we also have benchmarks. And these are the internal graphics, so it's not NVIDIA, not AMD, it's the integrated graphics inside the CPU. And it's getting faster and faster. So here they compare on the left side the 4900K to the new 285K, which we also have here. And you see performance almost tripled in TimeSpy, the graphics core, and Firestrike also doubled. Well, almost doubled, you know. So that's a big step.
Good night, Alan.
Yeah.
Sleep well.
Yeah, Alan, bye-bye. Have a good night. Memory performance is really important.
If you want to sleep easier, just keep the live stream on, and then you will hear Eric. And
you fall asleep from yourself, yeah. So memory performance is really important for the graphics performance. So if on the left side here you see DDR5 4800, on the right side is DDR5 8000. So that also adds 7 to 8% to your score.
It has to do with the fact, of course, that integrated graphics doesn't have discrete graphics memory, so no VRAM available. So it will use your regular RAM as VRAM in this case. So it will allocate a piece of your normal RAM as VRAM, meaning that if that RAM is faster, basically the virtual VRAM would also be faster and increase performance, in this case for your graphics.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the NPU. So it has a dedicated NPU integrated, 13 tops. And yeah, that's okay for Microsoft Copilot, but not for Copilot Plus. For that you really need Lunar Lake, which has 40 tops plus. We're preparing a live stream for that in the future. So we go more into the AI stuff. Our BIOS also has an option where you can overclock the NPU. It's not a lot, but small things always help. Also, if you overclock the SoC, it will also improve the NPU performance a little bit, because they have they're linked to each other.
Yeah, right.
So over here you see you can get, this is the performance, so it's not the overclock, because the overclock potential can be higher. Mm-hmm. This is about, let's say, 10% extra performance you get out of it.
Keep in mind that this still won't be enough for Copilot Plus, because the requirements are that far out of range for this NPU.
Yeah.
That it will give you a little bit better AI performance, maybe also in
more
regular Copilot.
bragging rights.
More bragging rights.
Yeah.
And maybe in Copilot you get a little bit better performance.
My MPU is 13.5 tops.
It should be a little bit higher if you go from 13.
Yeah, okay.
14.3.
Yeah, 14.3, yeah.
But that's still not enough for Copilot Plus, for example.
No.
So that's something to keep in mind.
Indeed. And still didn't play with this with the MPU.
Yeah.
We will do that in a future live stream. Then quickly talk about ClickBIOS X. We're going to have a dedicated live stream about this
X
in the future.
10?
Sorry?
X or 10? It's a good question, isn't it?
What was the last one we had?
5. we didn't have V.
We had 5?
We had ClickBIOS 5.
That was 6, 7, 8 and 9.
I don't know, you ate them?
Then this is not ClickBIOS 10. It's ClickBIOS X.
Yeah, because otherwise the other one should have been ClickBIOS V, right?
Yeah, indeed. Romain. Yeah, okay. So we switched to the ESA code, and with that we also have a new look and feel to our BIOS. So the BIOS is completely made up from the ground up. So new flat UI design, the advanced mode. So there are a little bit more.
This is, by the way, not only for the Intel 800 series, but also the AMD 800 series have this new BIOS.
Only these two new platforms, and moving forward, if there's ever a new generation of Intel AMD, it will run on this BIOS.
Yeah, correct.
And currently we don't have any plan to use it on 600 series or on on 600
No, so
series.
they still run ClickBIOS 5.
Yeah, indeed.
And the new one's ClickBIOS X/10.
Easy mode is also back. We also try to improve the info function and the help function to give a more dedicated space. So the info
You
function.
need it so often?
Well, info, I think it's always useful because you really can see what a function is doing, and now we have more space. We can also add like
a bit more context.
Yeah, what the behavior, what the expected behavior is. Like if you increase it, this happens. If you decrease it, and that's really the help function, because the help function is at the bottom.
If you have a blue screen, you did something wrong.
Go back. F5. It will be touch friendly, so in the future you will also see this on other devices where touch is important, like a claw. And we have a lot of new things like carousels, scroll bars, etc., which before we didn't have in the BIOS. And this all makes interfacing more easy, so you can faster find the right information in your BIOS. One of the problems with BIOS nowadays is we're still on that 32-bit ROM. So when you want to do scaling, you need to add all those new graphics in, and that's a big challenge. So on the top side, you get a fat lucky because the ratio is
Chubby lucky.
Chubby lucky, yeah.
Chubby lucky.
No lucky.
Unlucky.
Yeah. So now we are doing this in a different way. With this, you can better scale it. With this ESA code, you can better scale it in different resolutions.
So no more added weight for lucky.
Yeah, indeed. And I believe if we talk about 64 megabit ROMs for systems, that will be in the future, you know.
Yeah, megabyte, I believe.
Well, what did they say?
Megabit.
Bit? Okay, megabyte.
I think they're megabyte.
Yeah.
Not 100% sure.
Also, the navigation in M-Flash we improved a lot. So all the kind of small things, a lot of things improved. We now also have a hardware monitor which can, we already had a hardware monitor, but now it can do up to 7 smart level controls. So you can put them in the BIOS visually, and you can group fans together. So you can basically say, my fan on the top, those 3 fans I have there, it will behave as one group.
There was, of course, a way around this when you use like a splitter cable. So
you
just
have
group
one
them
fan
together and put them on one fan header, and you connect that one fan header, and all 3 fans will behave like that. But now you can all connect them to your motherboard as well and still group them and make them have the same behavior.
So each of the MSI series like MAG, MAG, MPG, Pro, etc., they will get their own look and feel. And like what we already talked about, the 600 series stays in the old GSE, what we call GSE code. We also changed our BIOS rule. This may be important if you're going to flash your motherboard. In the past, we had over 20 years, we had the 8.3 rule. Now we go to the 9.4
So you already
rule.
made that one up, or not?
No. I'm like 22 years in MSI, I believe. But
so this was one of your first mistakes.
No. I had nothing to do. Ruud told me I think this comes from OEM. That's why I have it. Anyway, I'm going to skip this. I think this is more important. So you first have beta 1, beta 2, then you have MP BIOS 1. And of course, the MP BIOS means mass production BIOS.
Yeah.
This is when you purchase a board, it's always the MP BIOS you find on there. And if you purchase a board just after launch, which like now, you have MP BIOS 1. Because that's the initial BIOS we release and we're going to sell the board.
But by the time it arrives at your place, there may be newer MP BIOSes already. So then
beta BIOSes. So our advice, don't flash a BIOS as a hobby. Wait until you have an issue and then update your BIOS, or if there's a security risk, because nowadays more and more, I don't want to say more and more, well, let's say security is important, and also the BIOS can be vulnerable to hackers, and you don't want that you have something nested in your system at a higher level than your operating system, so virtualization. But
if you like to fiddle around with your PC and you want to try out the latest features and stuff, they will first release in the beta BIOS.
Yeah.
And if you already want to try out with them, of course, go ahead. That's also why we release them. But keep in mind that when you install a beta BIOS, not everything may be final, so you may experience certain issues here or there. Of course, then you can always go back to your MP BIOS.
Yeah, Pandora Gray is saying, when will the Intel 14 Gen BIOS be, of Intel 14th or what is it, the 13th, 14th Gen, be out of beta? To be honest, I don't know. But yeah, when we get an update and we know, we will let you know, but then probably you already have it. Can you show us Godlike? Yeah, Mike? I think we have it over there. It's heavy, or Mike is getting old?
Both.
Yeah. You can go back in the video, we showed it before.
Yeah.
Sorry, short. Long story. Okay, CPU overclocking. Always backup BIOS chat. BIOS chat?
Always backup BIOS chat.
Comma chat. Yeah, sure.
Well, you can basically download a lot of them from our website. Yeah. So you can go far back with earlier versions.
So today we don't have any overclocking results, and we don't have the time. I mean, only time is flying. We don't have the time to do so.
Already on our way.
Maybe we need to do next week also a live stream about this. There's so much to tell. Maybe we need to start overclocking next week.
We need to check if root is maybe available.
Yeah, I'm not good enough. I didn't break anything this week.
Not yet.
Okay, so Intel, they added a lot of features for overclocking. We will not highlight them all. But yeah, one of the things we have to see in our BIOS is CPU force free. And basically, CPU force is measuring the quality of your CPU and your CPU cores.
So also what we talked about before, not every CPU is identical. There will be quality differences, and that is where this comes in.
Yeah, indeed. And this also gives you an indication how good you can overclock your CPU. Yeah. These are the recommended voltages for using on these CPUs. So there is always a limit. You shouldn't not go above that. Otherwise you... what's that? What do I smell?
Oh, I see some smoke coming out of the testers.
Yeah, indeed. We also have CPU light control, Mike.
Yeah, light load control is basically if you want to stabilize voltages, then you can fiddle around with this. Also, if you're into underclocking, so maybe you want to build a nice small system, then this is stuff you can fiddle around with. This is a more advanced feature though. So if you don't know anything about overclocking, undervolting, all those kind of things, and you just want a rock stable system, then keep this to the standard values. If you want to see how well you can optimize your system, if you want to get the most out of your specific CPU, because maybe you have a good one and there is still some headroom in there, then this is something you can fiddle around with.
I fixed the spelling error.
Oh yeah, the spelling error.
No, the spelling error. Okay, let's talk about the base clock, because this is also different. So in the past we had motherboards, and most of the times this was like Godlike, Ace, really the high-end motherboards.
Did you write this down?
What?
Did you write this down?
Is it English problem?
Godlike, not capitalized.
Oh no, I copy-paste this.
Tomahawk is edition and Wi-Fi, Carbon, Wi-Fi.
I know. I didn't, yeah.
So disappointing.
Yeah. I can do that. Anyway, in the past you had basically a clock gen, which is integrated in your CPU, which generates the clock speed, which uses a multiplier, and then you get into certain clocks. At one moment it was very difficult for overclocking because all the PCI Express lanes, the integrated GPU, they were all linked to the same clock. So if, for example, you want to push your CPU higher, it could be that your GPU was your bottleneck, your integrated GPU, or that your PCI Express lanes were a bottleneck.
Depends though, because there are two ways of overclocking.
Yeah, with the base clock and with the multiplier.
Because basically your frequency is when you multiply the base clock with the multiplier, hence the name, then you get your frequency. If you have a K-SKU CPU in combination with the Z-series chipset, then you have an unlock multiplier and you can overclock by increasing the multiplier. If you have a locked CPU, so a non-K1, or you're running a non-Z-series chipset, then you cannot do that. But if you have an external clock generator, you can still adjust the base clock. So then you have a fixed multiplier, but by, for example, increasing the base clock, you will also increase the overall frequency, of course. And that's what you could do with an external clock generator. Yeah.
So in this CPU, you basically, and I will go to the next slide, a little bit technical, but here you see the CPU diagram. We talked about it. Well, I mean, CPU diagram, there is much more inside, but at the bottom you have the GPU tile. Here you have the SoC, which is talking about all the memory controller, the PCI Express controller, all those kind of things. And this is the CPU. So if you have an external clock gen, you can run them in sync mode and non-sync mode. Yep. So sync mode means both of them get a clock signal from the external clock gen. And non-sync mode means that the CPU gets its clock from the internal clock gen. And PCI Express, the SoC basically, it will get the clock from the external generator. So, and with that you can fine-tune, I put it in this slide, you can fine-tune everything much finer basically. If you have a mainboard without external clock gen, which is not on the list, so we talk about the Pro mainboards, because this generation, Mike, I think a lot of these have a external clock gen, right?
Basically all the gaming models that we now announce have this external clock generator. The Pro models do not have that external clock generator, so there it will function slightly different.
Yeah, so with the internal clock gen you can still, I have that here, you can still link them, like you see on the left side, and you can split them apart. So now you have, and that's what Intel showed already in the slide, you have much better control over getting your CPU to a higher speed, higher performance. Intel also, if we talk about benchmarking, Intel also has the Intel application optimization. They have this since 13th gen already, maybe 12th gen already.
Oh, that's a good question.
Do they have it already for some generations?
Yeah, they had it for a bit. So APO for short.
Yeah. APO what?
APO.
APO?
Mm-hmm. Application optimization.
What's the P?
Application, APO.
Okay, APO. Anyway,
I didn't make that up.
Yeah, they have a new version of this, and basically what, actually I'm not 100% sure what it's doing per game, but it's plays with the E cores and the P cores. So in some games you get better performance.
I would say it's a bit like scheduling, proper scheduling for games.
Yeah.
So optimizing the allocation of the task on the course in such a way that it can improve game performance.
So, and this can be even switching off the E cores and running everything on the P cores, as simple as that.
Which is also something you can do in the BIOS, for example. Yeah. So, if you don't care about multi-core performance and you just want to run the P cores, go ahead, you can switch the E cores off.
Yeah. If we look at this performance, you know, it adds a little bit. At the bottom, you see a benchmark from MSI HQ. So by default, it's running 218, and with application optimized APO, Mike, APO, you get 229. So it's a small performance improvement. On the top, Ruud was testing this. So you see if you have the...
We had some interesting behavior.
Indeed, and that's always with a new platform. And Ruud...
We don't have an explanation for this yet. These are just the test results that
Ruud has a lot of test data. We got like 3 or 4 Excel sheets.
And some stuff he still needs to figure out what the cost for this, and this is one of them.
Yeah. So if you install Windows and you don't have the APO app installed, you get a score. And was this also Shadow of Tomb Raider?
I'm not sure what it is.
Okay. Anyway, just a game with. I'm thinking which game it was because he told me. No, maybe I forgot. No, Cyberpunk.
Could be. I'm
Maybe.
not sure.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you don't install the app, you get 295 FPS.
Yeah.
If you then install the app and you enable APO, you get 294. Which
Just
is
same, within margin of error.
Yeah, within a margin of error. If you then disable the app, you get 223. So it's lower again. Strange. It
Makes sense because you take the optimization part out.
Yeah. And then what is DTT?
Oh, that's a,
okay,
I don't
anyway,
know the
it's a
exact
BIOS
abbreviation, but basically DTT is a BIOS option that in our previous generations was disabled by default. In the new generation, this is enabled by default. However, you can still switch this off in the BIOS, and what you would kind of expect is that you would get the same number as when you would disable APO in the application, but that's not what happened.
No, so it's...
For some reason, you get performance somewhere in between. And why? No idea at this point. So this is something Ruud can look forward to when he's back from his holiday to figure out.
Maybe maybe this is a known issue, and maybe already today Intel brought out a new driver or patched something and it's fixed. We don't know. We're just reporting here.
Yeah.
Cooling. Also interesting topic. So we already talked to you, and 2 weeks ago we also showed you that this CPU is built up of a lot of different tiles that put together. And if you look at the CPU itself on the left side with the heat spreader, you see that the hotspot is on the right top side, more or less. And if you then remove the heat spreader from the CPU, you see all those tiles. So.
By the way, don't try that at home.
No.
Unless you really know what you're doing and you don't care about
and use a
voiding
delete
warranty.
tool.
Yeah.
I put here the silicon. What is in that location? So at the bottom you find the GPU. Here you find the SoC. So we talked about it. It's the PCI Express, the memory control, those kind of things.
Yeah.
I/O, USB, PCI Express lanes, and then here you have the CPU. And this style.
NRT says it's similar to AMD now with the chiplets and offset hotspot. Yeah, similar. Not identical, but similar.
Indeed.
It is indeed a bit like that idea.
And then X is basically where there is no logic. They have still some part of the silicon over there, but that's just to make sure that it's one big square. That's also located on the right bottom. Maybe here you see it. So this is doing nothing. It's just there filling up space. This CPU hotspot is different than in last generations, and that's also why with coolers,
it's higher, basically,
you have one
physically.
here?
Yeah, last time we tried to put it on, we haven't tried again yet.
I asked you yesterday, Mike, did you try? What was Monday?
Yeah, and then I answered no, I didn't have time anymore. Apparently you also did a try later. Okay.
No. So
we
where is
still
it?
have to figure it. I don't know where it is.
Oh, you even don't have it here.
Good question. No,
Anyway.
but basically it comes with an additional bracket that you can put on the i-series liquid coolers, and this one basically puts your water block slightly higher, and that means you move the cooling area of the liquid cooler more towards the hotspot of the CPU. So that
I think they said something like use the AMD bracket to push it off or something.
Yeah, to get the uni bracket off.
Oh, the uni bracket off, yeah. Anyway, we didn't test. We
Well,
didn't have
perhaps
time.
if we do another live stream next week, then if we don't forget, then we have time to.
2 hours checking how we are going to remove the uni bracket.
Yeah, but should be doable.
Could be. Yeah. Anyway.
By the way, this is still specifically something for the i-series liquid coolers.
Yeah. So it's a 3% decrease in temperature. Small thing, but it helps. And if the bracket is for free, why not?
Yeah, so you can basically request one for free if you buy an i-series liquid cooler.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this high performance mode, what we already showed you with memory, but now benchmarks from Ruud.
So this is Cinebench.
A lot of data.
23 single-threaded, and single-threaded is the most extreme one where latency makes a lot of difference. In multi-threaded, you run into other limitations faster. In this testing data, you also see, of course, the two different
Maybe
modes.
we start at the top.
Yeah. at the top you see the balanced mode. So that's what we demonstrated earlier.
So 285, Arrow Lake,
yeah.
Windows 11 with the update 24H2, which came out 1st of October.
Yeah. So with this update, if you run it in balance mode, so the standard mode out of the box for Microsoft Windows, 11 in this case, then basically you hurt your performance.
And VBS and memory
Yeah.
integration on.
Yeah, but that doesn't really matter,
No.
as you can see below. This is really something that...
Yeah, so this is, I mean, when this is a new test form, I say we, but Ruud is doing all the testing.
Yeah.
But he is always going to try, okay, what if I do this? What if I do this? And, you know, sometimes you do a benchmark. Oh, last time I had this kind of behavior.
The interesting thing here is if you don't run the 24H2 update, so you run 23H2, imbalanced, then you do get the high performance one comparable to the 24H2 in the high performance mode.
Yeah. So something changed.
Yeah, something changed where in the newer Windows version, the 24H2, in combination with the balanced one, that's what hurts the performance. And that, of course, like we demonstrated before, also hurts the latency.
So to show you in these slides what Mike is saying, the 285K gets a score of close to 2000 with in balance mode.
Yeah.
If you use the same balance mode in the previous Windows, let's say Windows 11, the 23H2 update, same settings, it is 19% faster.
Yeah, and that is not something what you would expect from a newer Windows version.
No.
Because if you ran balanced in 23H2 and then you upgrade your Windows 11 to 24H2 and you continue to run balanced, you lose a lot of performance. So that's, no, how to say this politely, less than ideal.
I cannot read the name, the bottom one.
Gux TV.
Oh, Gux TV. By the way, I had a chance to get my hand on a Z90 M-Power. I was blown by the RAM OC potential. Maybe you show our other one, Mike.
Which one, unify-x?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can quickly grab that.
So, currently, no plans for M-Power, but of course that can change. But we have a 2-DIMM board, which is the unify-x. Z890 unify-x. Yeah.
And this should now become our memory overclocking king for this channel.
With CUDIMM, this is doing 9600.
Yeah.
Of it can do, you know, depending on the quality of the memory
factors,
controller. Yeah. We talked about it.
Or unify export. Yep. If you want to see more about this, last week, or sorry, 2 weeks ago already, we did a specific live stream with our Z890 lineup, and we have shown a lot of boards there in more detail.
So we now established that in performance mode you get the best performance.
Yeah.
And then we're going to compare this to AMD 9950X. Same settings. You get this is 2362 and this is 2300 02. And then the 3900K, so last generation, you get 2177. So we had a lot of questions, of course. Is this one faster? Well, we're now talking about single-threaded Cinebench. Yes, it's faster.
Yeah.
Then we're talking about multi-threaded.
This we can run as well. It doesn't take as long. So let's get back to our systems because we both have this installed.
Live benchmarking, what can go wrong?
Where did oh, there it is.
On the left side, 3900K. Because we didn't have a 4900K.
Not in this office.
It's in. I'm sure it's in one system.
No.
I'm sure.
Which one?
Hey, where's my Cinebench?
Another we have here.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
One moment. I need to check. High performance, yes. It doesn't matter for me.
Also double check. For me, it does matter. High performance.
This start.
Yeah.
And off. Oh, I have 30 minutes. Like this.
Yeah, do it like that. Otherwise, it loops. And I start.
Okay, going toilet, coffee break.
It's a multi-threaded,
oh.
so not enough time because these CPUs are very
Which
fast.
one is faster? Can I see side by side? Close.
I know who's winning this, and it's not going to be you.
Okay. But maybe we didn't click on the same moment.
No, but also in terms of score. So let me move this a little bit so you guys can see the score as well. So RX scores a little
35,
over 35k.
200?
Yeah, and with the new CPU I score a little over 42k.
What the hell?
Of course, you're still running a 13 gen. With a 14 gen, it's slightly faster, but still just a minor increase.
That's a bit.
That's
okay,
quite a
difference.
boost. Yeah. Okay. Now I want you to set the minimum test duration to let's just put it to 30 minutes, and then press start again.
Why?
Just let it calculate some
So
stuff.
now I can go to the toilet or what?
No, you can open Hardware Info 64 and set it to sensors only, please. And drag it a little bit to the middle so people can see what we're doing.
I'm already finished.
There we go. This is where you will see temperatures and power consumption. You should make yours a little bit smaller so people can see.
No, I'm going to do like this.
In the background you can still see Cinebench running, and it's just looping. And here you can see temperatures and power consumption with it. So basically my system is maxing out at like 78 degrees Celsius, 79 maybe top.
86.
Yeah. And
Here.
yeah, so you're quite a bit higher. So basically you're running into the maximum, even with the 360 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler, with what it can dissipate in terms of heat.
Yeah. So this is about 88 watts.
Yeah.
So the yeah, it's a bit confusing. Oh no, it's not confusing. I'm on the left, which is the 3900K, and we're doing the same benchmark, just Cinebench, multi-threaded, and I'm at 88 watt.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike?
You're 88 watt? You're at
Oh,
88
sorry, 88
degrees.
degrees, sorry, not watt.
Let me pull this open a bit.
Watt is something
then
else.
You can see some more details. Power consumption, for me, well, it is currently in the Intel recommended setting. So basically that is 250 TDP limit.
Yeah, here as well.
I'm actually below quite a bit. You are slightly higher, or yeah, a little bit higher usually in terms of power consumption. A bit.
277,
Yeah.
240.
You peak higher, basically. But you consume this while performing worse,
Yeah.
which makes this system more efficient. This is a 3900K. A 4900K is boosted even further, is even more inefficient.
Yeah.
And this is...
So boosting higher means more power usage.
Yeah.
A bit slow, a bit faster
A bit
than
faster,
the 3900K.
but increased
Yeah.
power consumption. Yeah, heating up?
Yeah, heating up.
Because basically now the CPU is just running at 100% load.
Yeah.
So as you can see, it is quite a bit more efficient. So better scores, lower temperatures, and slightly lower power consumption as well in this specific configuration, how we just set it. Yeah, you can go to the next one.
Well, maybe
Yeah, here you see the scores, how they compare to each other.
Yeah. So AMD is at the bottom. So, whoa, one moment.
No,
So-
AMD is not at the bottom.
Sorry.
Your CPU is at the bottom, the 3900K.
Yeah, 3900K.
Yeah, so that's also in line with what you just had in your system.
Yeah.
Around 35K in Cinebench 23 multi-threaded. And
AMD is here.
Hey.
9950.
it says 40. Oh, okay, now that is approximately what I had. Yeah, so 42K. As you can see here, the performance hit of balanced is way less. Because here basically you're impacted by...
The orange bar.
No, that's the 23 one.
Oh,
but also,
here.
you see that the high performance mode in 24H2 still performs slightly better, but the difference is way less than in the single threaded. So way less reliant on that latency, for example.
So, same, can we switch it off?
Yeah.
I'm getting hot. And my side.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally pressed it again. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you can stop.
We don't need this anymore, okay. Yeah, video transcoding, handbrake. So let us look. So this is doing 101. Is this less is better or more is better? Oh, this is
More.
FPS. Okay.
Yeah.
So 101
This is something
frames.
that AMD is traditionally very good at.
Yeah, this is
which
AMD.
which we can also see when we compare Raptor Lake at the very bottom compared to 9000 series AMD So AMD was much faster. AMD still has the upper hand in video transcoding, but Intel gets a lot closer now.
Yeah. You see that especially AMD is very efficient, very fast at X265, but AV1 it's much closer.
Yeah, it's much closer, and especially it's a big leap from the previous generation.
Yeah. I think then 7-zip.
Yeah.
Hey, predictable.
Yeah.
Let us see. Yeah, so 13900K compared to this one, 285. It's a bit slower, I would say. You know, here the scores with balanced are about the same.
Yeah, it's about equal.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a big difference.
No,
it's
all
so
in
it all depends on the exact situation, whether or not it hurts your performance.
But
in general,
Intel, AMD decompression, they're much faster.
Yeah.
Any idea why?
I think it's just an architectural difference because like we saw before in 3D rendering, what Cinebench essentially
but also compression.
There
faster.
you saw that Intel is slightly faster.
Yeah.
But in this example, AMD is faster. So it also depends on certain applications just run well on certain architectures and other applications run better on other architectures. Skeet's also saying AMD has always been faster at 7-zip. Yeah, their architecture is very suitable for this. With Intel, we saw very strong 3D rendering performance, like in Cinebench, for example.
APK007 is asking what gen processor should I buy of Intel i9, i7 value for money and good performance. Maybe i5. I mean, depends what you want to do with the system, but if you're going to game with it, i5, i7.
Larry asking why compare against 3900K and not 4900, because we didn't have one in the office.
No.
So the only 14 generation we would have would be the 14700K, but that
Which
one, of course,
not fair.
has fewer cores.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to go with 3900.
And the difference between 3900 and 4900 is not that big.
Well, in terms of core and cache, they're identical. It's just a slightly higher clocked 3900K.
And power usage.
And slightly less efficient because of that. Yeah. That's why we went with 3900K. But yeah, just expect the 4900K to be slightly faster, slightly less efficient, basically. Compression. So here, lower is better because this is how many seconds it takes. And you see that AMD.
It's
again,
a second.
I
was checking. Slower is better.
No. Lower is better.
It's lower.
Seconds,
it's seconds and then lower.
Yeah. So here you see this is not exactly suitable for this new architecture. At least it gets
indeed, and AMD and the old generation are much faster. So this is where
this could be something that is more related to that memory latency.
Yeah.
Because both of those have
are done in memory.
Yeah, and both have a lower latency as well. Those previous or AMD and the previous generation Intel. This is the copy benchmark. We also just ran this one. As you can see, very good performance here. This also generally Intel is a bit faster at this in general. Was already the case with the previous generation, even more so with the current generation. It's comparable to what we just saw in our benchmarks. Memory latency, this is what we talked about, where it makes a big difference. On top again, you see the balance mode. That's also what we demonstrated before. Huge latency hit when you run balance mode in 24H2.
And is this with memory extension mode?
No, I don't think it is.
No, so this can be even further improved to somewhere low in the 70s.
Yeah, could be slightly better.
Or was low in the 80s? I think low in the 70s.
Depends also on which setting you select.
Of course, yeah. Indeed.
Then game benchmarks.
I'm first going to do a giveaway.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, shall I boot up the Wukong benchmark?
Yeah, maybe do that.
Maybe,
Does it take that long? Should I do the same?
Take that one. No, because I also want to show you power consumption of the whole system here. And we only have one of those power meters.
No, so I'm going
Later on, Ruud did a lot of testing for us beforehand. So we have a lot of testing data. We can also run some live Wukong benchmarks, so we can show you power consumption during the benchmark. Later on, you will also find those results and some power consumption results of Cyberpunk in his result. And then we also compare between the different CPU generations and also against AMD 9000 series.
So, next winner for our giveaway Star Wars Outlaws is Spidey.
Congratulations.
Yeah, Spidey, congrats. Enjoy the game. I was told it is a really fun game.
You don't know. You played like 10 seconds and then you were
I
stuck.
was told, I said.
Okay. So did you enjoy the first 10 seconds before you got
So, if you want to participate in the giveaway on YouTube, Mike pinned the post, so you can click on that. And in Twitch, where the bot is still running.
So make sure to participate.
I can also copy paste it in the chat, not? I will do that.
Yeah, you can.
So then TikTok doesn't have to ask for a free PC, they can win a game instead.
Oh. In the meanwhile, I will start a benchmark. I am currently, because we're also capturing this at 1080p, so I am currently running this at 1080p. It is borderless, the other option is windowed, it doesn't have a full screen option. Strong motion blur, because I heard everyone in chat loves motion blur. What settings shall we run? Can we switch DLSS? Yeah, we can switch. Let's switch frame rate generation off. Full ray tracing, yes, so we don't have an ultra setting. Cinematic, so that's basically the highest setting. Okay. Let's go with this. To stress the system nicely. There we go. And then we'll see. Mostly what I want to show you here is what the whole system consumes. So I will quickly grab my mobile camera.
Mobile camera,
I still need to wake it up.
This one. Okay, you have to wake it up. So we're here.
Yeah, should be awake, I hope. Yeah, there we go. So this is while we're running the benchmark, and this is with an RTX 4090 in combination. Don't pull the plug.
I'm checking if it was real.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe not. Maybe a toaster or something, or a microwave.
No, this is the actual system. So this is the Ultra 9 285K, so the top end SKU in combination with an RTX 4090. So it's currently running the Wukong benchmark at maximum settings. And as you can see, it's around, well, a little under 500 watts. So that's actually not too bad.
Vectom 74, Spidey. Spidey is the winner. The last winner. Not the last, but you know, the previous winner.
Yeah.
The last one. So far.
So yeah, if you would run this combination with a 1300K, it would definitely be a bit higher. Okay. Then let's maybe go through Ruud's testing data. This can run in the background.
Yeah. Counter-Strike, CPU benchmark.
These tests are all done with the high performance setting, so not the balanced one, also to get like how it should perform compared to the, in this case, 1300K, and that's the one Eric is currently using.
And here
and
we also see a
9900X.
second CPU, because at the top you see the 285, which is the Ultra 9, but here we also have the Ultra 7, the 265KF, so without graphics.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't have any impact on the performance.
No, the integrated graphics don't matter here.
No.
And you also see the Ryzen 9 9900X as well as the Core i7 14700K. From that one we did have a 14th generation. For the i9 we only had the 13th one. But here you can see actually in this specific game it does perform a bit slower than what you know from the previous generations or also AMD.
Yeah, so we compare the top, 285K is 528 FPS, and if we compare that to the 3900K, it's 597, so quite a big impact. And then 641 for the AMD system.
Yeah, and this is a game that is known to benefit quite a bit from memory latency, so that could be the cause here that you see quite a bit of difference in terms of performance.
Yeah.
So where we saw quite a bit of an increase in terms of the synthetic benchmarks, like for example Cinebench rendering, here we see a bit of a decrease in terms of gaming performance.
Yeah, and
possibly
especially
related to memory latency.
the Ultra 7, the 265KF, it takes also a huge hit. 449 frames per second compared to AMD 619. compared to Intel, the 14700K, 577.
Yeah.
And oh, sorry, these are the, which is 95 percentile? Oh, this is the FPS and this is the 95.
Yeah, so that's basically 1% low.
Yeah. Rainbow Six Siege, and we have for this one 2 benchmarks, DirectX 11 and 12.
As you can see, already much closer, but still, the 3900K is slightly faster, I think. Yeah. Than the.
You will not notice this one frame.
No, but for the Ultra 7, the difference is slightly bigger.
Yeah.
But also there we're comparing it to the 14th generation, the 14700K.
Maybe this is the hyperthreading which is missing.
Yeah, but for gaming that won't make that much of a difference. But again, it is slightly slower in this game example as well, and the AMD one is the fastest again.
In DirectX 11. Now we're going to have a look at DirectX 12.
But basically, same story approximately.
Yeah, indeed. So 651 for the 285K versus AMD 697 and Intel 655. So really close.
Yeah, keep in mind that all these tests are still done with how it is right now. This is something with certain patches that things could change. Maybe that could be done through Windows upgrades. Maybe certain BIOS updates can make a difference. So this is as it is at this moment. In a couple of months, this can be different again.
F1 2022. Didn't we buy the new the new one?
I'm not sure if it's 24.
But he also has a lot of testing data from this.
Yeah, because
so
Root uses 22 a lot for comparing it to older CPUs, for example. So that's why it's still 22. But again, approximately same story. Here the 1% lows are slightly better, actually, but the average is slightly worse than the Raptor Lake in this case. AMD slightly ahead in both. So yeah, approximately same story.
Yeah. Shadow of Tomb Raider.
Yeah. Again, approximately same story.
Yeah.
1% lows.
I think Intel also had this on the in the slides. On par, they called it, between the 0 and 3%.
Yeah. I would also say this is kind of within margin of error.
Yeah, indeed. The one you just showed.
Yeah. Here you see actually they're all very close to each other. So probably more GPU limited rather than CPU limited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is medium setting,
settings,
and then we have the cinematic setting as well.
Makes
and
it
this
even more
even closer together.
Yeah. Because of course puts even more strain on the GPU.
Yeah.
And this is with ray tracing enabled. And yeah, basically no difference.
It's the same, puts all the load on the GPU.
Yeah. So basically it doesn't matter as much anymore what kind of CPU you're on.
Yeah. Cyberpunk, 1080p of course, medium, 1080p because we want to see, test the CPU.
But basically same story as what we saw earlier. Slightly slower than Raptor Lake CPUs. And again, AMD slightly faster in those in game.
You might start to wonder why is Intel putting a CPU on the market which is slower?
Later on you will see some more interesting data.
Because of power usage.
It is efficient,
yes. The same, so here we had 1080p medium and we do the same in ultra and the differences are not that bad, not that big. Same like 1080p medium. What was it? Medium, yeah. Oh, sorry. Ray tracing ultra. Again, let me see. Yeah, the gaps are about the same.
This is actually something that Raptor Lake is very good in.
Yeah.
Even faster than the AMD one as well.
Yeah.
But also faster than the Arrow Lake one. Yeah. So this is, as you can see, in gaming it's kind of opposite from what we saw in synthetic benchmark. So in synthetic benchmark...
Especially synthetic multi-threaded.
Yeah. No, also single-threaded.
Yeah. But,
in both. Synthetic benchmark, like for example 3D rendering, we saw that Arrow Lake quite comfortably outperformed Raptor Lake and Raptor Lake Refresh. In gaming, that doesn't seem to be the case at this point, and we suspect it has to do something with the memory latency at least.
But now we're going to talk about power usage. So we'll take these Cyberpunk 2077 1080p. Ray Tracing Ultra.
And this is what I think Intel did. They kind of sacrificed a bit of performance in order to get more towards an efficiency sweet spot. Because when we measure the total system, and this is done with the same hardware, so the same GPU, so there are no differences there. And
the mainboard. The mainboard is different.
Mainboard has to be different.
Yeah.
But of course, a motherboard doesn't make that much of a difference in terms of power consumption.
Basically, it's the same setup, and you see that the new Ultra 9 285K is way more efficient.
Yeah, especially when you compare this to the 14 generation, because actually the 14700K was even less efficient here than the 13900K, because it's pushed further in terms of frequency. That system, so that's
Sorry, I said efficient, that's the wrong term.
This is
it's
like
consuming less power.
Yeah. Efficiency we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
This is just raw power that it draws from the power socket while running Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. Now we talk about efficiencies because
wait, can you quickly go back, because it's actually, if you compare the 14700K and the 4900K would consume even slightly more probably.
Yeah.
The difference to the 285K is 140 watts. That's a lot of power. We have to say here, Cyberpunk is a game that usually puts quite a bit of strain on the CPU, so this difference will be slightly smaller in other games, so don't expect to see these gaps everywhere. But in Cyberpunk, it is a huge difference in terms of power consumption of the whole system between the new Arrow Lake generation and Raptor Lake Refresh, but also Raptor Lake as in the 13th generation. Yeah. Then let's go to efficiency, because this is basically a calculation. How many frames per second do you get per 100 watts of power? So basically you normalize everything. When you do that calculation, you actually see that where the Core Ultra 200S series didn't look very good in terms of absolute gaming performance, because they were never really leading the graphs in FPS, they do lead the graphs in terms of efficiency. So for each watt of power you put into that CPU, you actually get most frames per second back, even compared to the 9000 series in this example, so the 9950X. As you can see, for 13th generation it's a bit worse, and for 14th even more so, because that was pushed quite far beyond the efficiency.
It's good that we don't include the 4900KS in this overview.
That will be even lower.
Yeah.
So it is a faster CPU than a 14700K, but efficiency would be worse. Yeah. This is the package power measured by Hardware Info 64. So this is also, for example, what we measured in our Cinebench example.
What we just showed you.
And you see that the package power is also
that
quite a bit.
That part.
Yeah. Also quite a big difference between the different. Yeah, and it again normalized how many FPS per 100 watt. And again, here it is on top. So yeah, it looks like Intel decided to sacrifice a little bit of performance, especially in gaming, to get a lot of efficiency back, basically. Because I think that was also quite a common complaint about the 13th and 14th generation Intel, was that they could consume a lot of power, and usually their AMD counterparts were a bit more efficient. So where they may, at first glance, when you just look at the raw benchmarks, it may not look like a very good gaming CPU, but when you then look at efficiency, also in gaming, then it kind of changes the story a bit. And it will also depend on the person if you think if it's an upgrade or a downgrade. If you care a lot about consumption, heat production, then yeah.
I care about that.
Yeah, then the new generation would probably be quite a big upgrade for you. If you don't care about how much power it uses, how loud your system is, and basically just want the best performance.
And your money is for free?
Yeah, in terms of gaming.
The power is for free?
And the power is for free, yeah. Then the previous generation could actually be the more interesting choice.
Yeah, depends who's paying the power bill, exactly.
If you still live with your parents, they pay the power bill, and you just care about the performance, and you also don't care about noise, then the previous generation may be the better pick for you.
If you are a parent, like me, you care.
Yeah, then you want your kid to have the new
I really start to worry because I'm measuring all the power in my house. You know this?
Yeah.
if I see the bar from my son's gaming PC becoming bigger than my gaming PC,
and then,
I have to worry.
And then click off.
I can do that.
Yeah, smart switch.
Zigbee.
Yeah, and it's gone.
Yeah,
no gaming for you tonight.
He still doesn't know how to switch off his PC remotely.
He can game again when the sun is there.
When he finds out it's just a socket, and he will remove it, then I'm going to build in one in the wall.
Yeah. He will eventually find out too.
Yeah. What if I have no power?
Then you will get 0 FPS either way.
Then you are stuck with your mobile phone like this.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it is quite an interesting one because some people will think it's a disappointing launch. Some people will be impressed with this launch.
It was the same with AMD,
so
you know. First of all, probably, we don't know. We didn't see any benchmark from anybody else because the CPU launched when we went live. So
we also didn't read any conclusions about this yet.
So we just suspect, because of all the testing Ruud did, that there will be a lot of different
opinions and conclusions.
Well, first of all, a lot of different testing data, and because of that, a lot of different opinions and conclusions indeed.
But even with the same testing data, you will still get different opinions and conclusions.
Yeah. Also, I mean, some people value performance and others value power or money.
So also different media will value one higher than the other, and that will have a big impact on the conclusions you will reach. So that's, I'm actually also curious. After this live stream, I will definitely read some reviews as well and see what the consensus seems to be among media.
Sometimes we don't agree with some of the conclusions.
No, sometimes we don't.
We also
but again, it's also a subjective thing because you already mentioned you care a lot about efficiency. I personally do too, but for me that mostly has to do with the fact that I build in small form factor. So efficient CPUs are very important for small form factor PCs. Then you would probably lean towards a more efficient CPU. If you run an ATX or extended ATX system and you have a huge liquid cooler and you don't care about power consumption,
so
it'll be different.
Mauro is asking, with all the new disappointing benchmarks coming out, well, we don't know, do you guys recommend it? Well, I think that really depends on your personal situation. I mean, if you're coming from a 3 or 4 year old gaming platform, then I think it's an interesting step. If you are coming from last gen, why upgrade? You basically get the same performance for lower power. And then probably it costs you more. You need to
upgrade then in terms of
because
power.
It's not only your CPU, it's a new main board, maybe new memory. But if you're moving from DDR4 to DDR5, but on the other hand, also, I mean, if you're just a gamer, with for example, AM4, you can really buy, and also Intel, but you can really buy really affordable gaming builds. Because CPU is not that important.
Anke Ulia says, as an all-around chip, it seems interesting, but for gaming CPU, there is better even for efficiency. Well, for efficiency, there isn't really. The only thing I could think of is maybe the 7800X 3D. That could be slightly more efficient. But the Core Ultra 285K was actually slightly more efficient than, for example, the Ryzen 9 9950X. So yeah, without the 3D V cache, those models don't seem more efficient even in gaming.
And 3D V cache, that will only benefit gaming. So, then, which means you're only going to focus
but
on
for gaming efficiency, there I could see a 7800X 3D maybe be slightly more efficient than
we
didn't.
Do we have even one?
No, we don't have one.
Okay.
We do have a Ryzen 9 7950X 3D.
And we means in our office. I mean,
but unfortunately, Ruud was also limited.
Probably have 100.
But also Ruud, of course, he was going on holiday, so he was limited on his testing time. So we haven't tested that one. So we stuck to the previous generations Intel as well as the 9000 series AMD.
So he's building new game PC. Aside from power usage, I pre-ordered the 285K.
Anke Elias also says 9950 isn't as efficient in gaming as 9700X. But then again, you're comparing a lower end CPU to a higher end CPU, whereas for an Ultra 9 makes most sense to compare it to the top end model for AMD as well. Because for example, we haven't tested the Ultra 5 245K. I don't know, maybe that one is even more efficient. Could be the case as well. But it makes most sense to compare the top model from Intel to the top model for AMD. And actually they're very close in terms of gaming efficiency. Intel slightly more efficient, but in absolute performance, AMD has the upper hand at this point.
And again, I mean, it's quite, it just launched. There is still a lot of things to figure out.
Yeah.
Maybe already somebody online has some, like maybe a patch or maybe some conclusion how to avoid it or how to even improve it further. That's a matter of time. Then also memory development, CUDIMM. This will only become better with lower timings, latency improvements. So yeah, I mean, I still expect a lot of this. And what's really interesting is, I mean, this is a new architecture for Intel.
Mm-hmm.
It means that they are going to use this in the future. And if you look at, for example, something like Lunar Lake, that's really interesting. They have on-die memory. Of course, I don't think we were going to get it. I hope we're not going to get it in the desktop because you still want to have your memory DIMMs. But yeah, architecture-wise, there are still a lot of interesting things to come. And probably from AMD as well.
Yeah.
Are we going to have a look at this?
Yeah, let's go through.
Yeah. So we're now talking about synthetic benchmarks.
Yeah. So this is Blender, 3D rendering as well. Here you see lower is better because this is seconds it takes. And here again you see that, like we saw in Cinebench as well, it is very good at 3D rendering. So here I think it performs best out of all of them. It's close with AMD, but I think it's slightly faster. But
they would call it on par with AMD.
Yeah, basically, at least for the Ultra 9, the Ultra 7 actually does outperform the other Ryzen 9. So that's quite interesting. That's actually quite impressive performance because, well, usually you would compare the Ultra 7 to the Ryzen 7, and this is still a 9 you're comparing it to.
Yeah.
But yeah, the top-end models, so the 285K compared to 9950X, indeed about on par on this one, but definitely a big leap compared to the Raptor Lake CPUs that we see on the bottom.
Without hyper-threading.
Without hyper-threading.
This is the wall power, so complete system.
And where for gaming, we actually saw that on average, the Intel one was slightly more efficient than AMD. Here we see that AMD is a bit more efficient.
Yeah.
So that's also something to keep in mind. Where in gaming, they seem to be very efficient with this new platform. I would say they're still efficient in synthetic ones, but AMD is even more efficient.
So, because this is the efficiency score.
Yeah.
Which is the watt hours.
So basically how much power it consumed to render a frame.
Yeah. So it's different than we showed before.
Yeah.
With gaming.
Yeah, so this is purely efficiency, and here lower is better because it consumed less power to render that frame, and there you see that AMD is slightly more efficient.
With both of them, both the 9950 and the 9900X.
Yeah.
But if we compare this to the 13900K, Intel made a huge leap forward.
Yeah, look at the 14 one on the bottom.
I don't...
Because 14 generation was even less efficient than 13 gen.
Yeah, and this is the 4700K. Yeah.
So yeah, a big difference compared to previous generations Intel.
Yeah.
This is basically what we saw earlier. Single thread performance in Cinebench, again 3D rendering, very good. Basically fastest on the market right now.
Yeah, but now we also include the 265K.
Yeah. And again, there you see that the Ultra 7 is just as good at this compared to the other models.
Yeah, I expect. Oh, this multi-threaded.
Yeah, and here even bigger differences. So for 3D rendering, these are very good CPUs. Yeah.
So here again, you see the 265KF is, it's beating the i9 3900K.
Yeah, this is, I think they're very impressive at this.
One back. Two back.
Two back.
So this is the wall power for these. So here you see that...
so wall power is total system, but in this case, same GPU and stuff like that. But again, GPU will be idle anyway in Cinebench. But
AMD is drawing less power here.
Yeah. And that's a bit the trend that we see in the synthetic benchmarks in general. AMD seems to be slightly more efficient still in synthetic benchmarks, but not in gaming.
And this results in the efficiency.
Yeah. And there you see, but they are very, very close, AMD and Intel, in terms of efficiency here in Cinebench. So what we see is Intel is slightly faster in terms of 3D rendering. AMD is slightly more efficient. And previous generation, Intel consumed a lot of power in these kind of things, so make them definitely less efficient, but they were also a little bit slower.
Yeah, it's a huge, Uncle Elias is saying it's a huge step for Intel.
Yeah.
These CPUs make sense now. Well, I think there is still a lot to discover.
Yeah, for sure.
Can't wait to see all the
Still
others.
a lot of stuff that needs to be figured
yeah.
out. I'm pretty sure that also I expect Microsoft to make certain updates. I expect Intel to still come up with new microcodes.
And I think I'm very interested in the reasons behind it, because we suspect a lot of it's due to the latencies between the dies. But maybe it's totally different reason.
Could be. But at least that's where we currently measure the big difference. And because usually gaming is impacted quite a bit by memory latency, it looks, at least from the surface of it, that impacts gaming performance at this point. But yeah, it is a very complex conclusion, I would say. Basically, the conclusion is this a good CPU for you? It depends on what you want.
Yeah, but I think that's with each platform.
Not always. Like for example, gaming specifically, it's almost a no-brainer.
Okay, but we talk about from CPU point of view.
Yeah.
So you cannot say gaming specifically.
No, but also we have had generations in the past, a bit further past,
and on all fronts.
Where it was like a very easy choice, where one CPU was better at basically everything. That is not the case anymore. One CPU is better at one thing, the other is good at another thing, and the third one is the most efficient one. Yeah.
With the 9000 series.
Yeah, that as well. So it's very complex. So if you guys ask us which one should I buy, we will always answer, it depends.
Yeah.
But at least we try to give you a picture as complete as possible from what we can at this stage. In the future, of course, we will provide you with more information. We will definitely follow all the updates up and see what happens, what changes, what more information we may discover. Perhaps next week we have to check with Ruud if he's available to see.
Next week, you mentioned next week. I have something for that. Next week. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But we can check with Ruud maybe as time.
Yeah, maybe we just leave this here and we continue, and we will put Ruud here and he will show you live what
he can maybe fill out some things live.
Yeah. Maybe we have something totally different. Peter is in Taiwan. He will be back next week. So maybe we just tell him, hey Peter, it's your turn.
But yeah, so not entirely sure yet what next week's topic will be. But one thing is sure, and that is that we will be back next week on our regular live stream slot
Wednesdays.
Again. Yeah, Wednesday, and for Central European time, that will be 4 p.m. Central Europe is also switching to the winter time, as we call it.
So it's 1 hour later? Can I stay 1 hour longer in bed, or should I wake up early?
We go back in time.
We go back in time, so I can sleep 1 hour, or if I stay up until 3.
So we take our DeLorean and we go back for 1 hour.
Yeah, we go back in time.
But that also means that the other times will be updated. So now instead of 7 a.m. Los Angeles time, that will be 8 a.m. But 1 week later, North America will also switch, and then it will be back to 7 again. So the times are something to keep in mind at this point.
So
because
maybe we will see new people.
For
maybe, 1 week.
For 1 week. And then back to usual. But definitely keep in mind that it will switch. It may switch an hour depending on what time zone you're in.
Oh, that's a difficult question. So basically 9950X is 285? Depends.
Yeah, again, depends.
Wednesdays. Yeah, normally we're live on Wednesdays. Today and 2 weeks ago we went live on Thursdays because of the Intel NDA, also 1 hour later. Now we'll be 1 hour earlier. Not because of winter time, back to our time.
So we hope to see you all again in 6 days. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you thought it was interesting. Do you have a last winner for us?
Oh yeah, I already picked one. Did I? Yeah.
Did you?
I think.
I don't know.
Yeah. Swoosh.
Congratulations,
Swoosh.
You also won a game code for Star Wars Outlaws. So congrats again to all the winners. We will email the codes to you in the coming days. With
you.
Depends on how much time.
Did you do last week? Or
I did.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But I may be busy tomorrow, so you may end up doing this.
I know. Okay.
Because I have to film with that sample that you weren't allowed to touch.
I still didn't touch it, so there should not be any scratches on it.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you liked it and hope to see you again next week.
Bye-bye. Take care.